Hello and welcome back to the Metal Breakdown podcast. In today's episode, we'll be reviewing the new Fall Out Boy album. So much for Stardust. We've just done a tier list of all the previous and this album. Our opinion. I'm joined by Tom as usual.
Hello.
And Beka once again.
You call yourself hunters.
She's on the fucking Fall Out Boy memes.
You call yourselves podcasters.
She's a fan. If you'd listen to the fucking tier list,
Yeah,
you'll
we got
know.
mega fan
Not fans.
and two metal guys that are listening to Fall Out Boy because
This album's out.
Yep.
That's about it. First song, Love from the Other Side. I think this was a single.
this apparently was a single.
Yeah, it was the single. I think it dropped on the day that the album was announced, because the album was only announced like 2 or 3 months ago, so it was quite a quick turnaround.
So I thought this was like a modern take on the classic Fall Out Boy song. I thought it had a pretty good catchy chorus, nice use of two complementary guitars, and again the strings. I thought were a really cool sort of addition to the song. So added a little bit more dynamic. So pretty fun listen. Probably a good single.
Yeah, it's got a little funky intro to it. I know there's like 2 versions on Spotify, one with, one without. I remember when this dropped, and I literally had it on repeat immediately. Such a good single. It's nice to hear after Mania, especially if you've watched the previous video. Because it's got the drums, it's got the guitar again, and I also really like it when the drums kick in properly at the end of the song. I think it gives it a really good beat.
I just thought it was a Fall Out Boy song. It just didn't particularly do much new. It was just sort of like bring the fans back into it after Mania. It was just fun, boppy, classic Fall Out Boy.
a good reset.
Yeah.
If this came on at like the club or something, I'd be screaming along, dancing.
I think that leads into my thoughts on the next song as well. Heartbreak feels so good, because that straight up felt like a mix between like old and new Fall Out Boy, and sort of gave me faith while listening to the album that they'd probably solve some of the problems that were in Mania. Although I quite enjoyed Mania itself, I can understand why old fans didn't. And I think so far, at least by track 2 with Heartbreak Feels So Good, they're on like the right path towards getting that good blend while also inspiring towards like new progressive ideas.
It definitely gives me that American Beauty, American Psycho vibe. Like if I had to pick another Fall Out Boy album to be like, oh, this song could be on there, it would be that. Weirdly, it gave me like summer vibes. I don't know why, but if I was in like a summer car journey or at a barbecue and this came on, I feel like that fits pretty well. And just like the previous one, made me want to dance, made me want to sing along.
I did put down, it was quite a sing-alongy track. Patrick's got some good vocal flexes, pushing his highs again after a few albums where he didn't do too much like that. But differing from Tom, I thought it wasn't like the hookiest guitar-wise. It's just kind of...
I thought it was kind of cool. It wasn't hooky guitar, but they certainly had some like interesting moments between the two contrasts. I play guitar myself, so obviously I'm probably got a bit more of a keen ear on that area. And I thought what they were doing was pretty interesting enough. You know,
Had some pizzazz.
So that leads into the next song. Another bass bites the grudge. Sorry, I mean Hold Me Like a Grudge. So yeah, great bass line. Sort of very classic Queen bass line.
Yeah, you said it sounds like another one bites the dust.
I dum bum bum. Another one bites the grudge.
I get the joke now.
Yeah.
I get the
bit late to that one.
I thought you just messed up the name title. I was
No.
like, Tom, you've said it wrong.
No. Guitars felt very like 2000s Two-Door Cinema Club. Sort of funky, groovy vibes. I thought it wears its influences on its sleeve. But it's also a great piece individually. I think it's one of the better songs on the album.
Totally.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
I noted that when it was playing, me and Tom were head bopping, like in sync to it. It's definitely got that funky vibe, funky bass line, and I like the guitar riff on it, and that's pretty much what I said.
Bass good.
Bass good.
Bass good. That's about it. I didn't get too many notes on this one, I'm going to be honest.
It's kind of a single. They released a music video with it the other day.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
I showed Connor it.
I'll watch it after the video. On to the next song, I suppose, Fake Out. I didn't really write too much about this one. This one was sort of like in and out, fairly short, 3.5 minutes. But it just sort of was fairly mellow. Again, sort of a very sort of 2000s pop rock vibe. Not too much to say about that one.
For a lot of this, well, it was an emotional but happy song, and I could summarize this album as being quite a happy album. A lot of the songs felt very uplifting, even if like lyrical content wise it wasn't necessarily, but musically it felt quite happy. For this one I put the mixing felt more even than most Fall Out Boy songs. Most Fall Out Boy songs are very vocal heavy.
Yeah, instruments right to the back.
Yeah, well this one it felt a bit more even, like they dragged the vocals back and dragged the instruments forward on this one.
Yeah, I love the mixing in this album.
Yeah,
I thought it was an absolutely
great
mix.
It's a lot nicer in this one to let everyone else in the band shine and not just Patrick, like most of Fall Out Boy.
I didn't actually write much for this one. It was probably one of my less impressionable tracks on this album, but I think if I give it a couple more listens, it might rise further up in the album for me. I said that it's definitely got that old throwback vibe to it. I noted bands like All American Rejects and Blink-182. There was a band that I was going for, couldn't put my finger on it at all. But that kind of vibe is definitely this song.
Yeah, track number 5, Heaven, Iowa. Bit of a confusing track name, to say the least.
Ohio?
Ohio.
Oh, back to the song. I thought Patrick goes pretty hard here. I think his vocals are on point. They work really well with the key and sort of symphonies sort of going in the background. I think the guitars around the halfway mark with the drums sort of kick in and we play through the chorus again, but sort of with this added oomph. So it has a really nice sort of build and sort of climax towards the end before kicking in with the chorus with, again, some of the sort of more instruments playing in the background, so it add a bit more temperature to sort of song structure. I will say though, they do tease a guitar solo, and it doesn't happen. I was like edging on my sheet, like, oh, are they actually gonna do this? And then they don't, and I'm like,
maybe it's just because we're like metalheads and used to like solos and breakdowns. I was expecting something, and just didn't get it. This one should have been called Fake Out because that was Fake Out to us.
I said that this one reminded me of Church off Mania. Like, it's church-ish, especially with the layered vocals in it and things like that. Nice piano behind it. And my main point was really, the song gave me like an 80s vibe. Like, if you've ever watched The Lost Boys, the song Cry Little Sister, it gave me that kind of vibe, and it matches up with the promo for this album because the boys have done sort of recreations of 80s film posters, including Lost Boys. So I was like, well, that makes sense. And my biggest comment I put this song over a cheesy, foggy 80s slow-mo makeout scene. And I was like, that's where it fits.
They definitely used a lot of sort of classic influences on this album from like the 70s, 80s and 90s and 2000s, like musically. And you can sort of hear them littered throughout. As I said before, like there were them on the sleeve.
No, I'm going to have to pause you there because you just put like 2000s and classic together, and that's kind of painful.
2000s was 20 years ago.
Don't say that, please. Silence.
Shut up. Where's the edit? Cut it.
You're old, get over it.
I did also say I liked when the guitar kicked in at the end. That was nice. Like, it had that sort of ramp up and then like end halfway.
The tease! You know,
I liked it.
In a criticism, but also at the same time, the tease!
We wanted something.
Rip headphone users.
Sorry, baby.
Fucked headphone users.
So, numero 6, So Good Right Now. Back into the sort of 2000s pop rock vibe. My main notes for this is, whoa, 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 whoa.
What song did you say it was kind of?
Matilda. The
Matilda
meme where she
intro,
like clicks and all the lights come on and she does weird stuff in the film. Because it's got that...
See, my friend went to the listening party last week, and she was very cheeky because she sent me a track by track like reaction to while they were playing it. And when this song came on, in full caps, I just got, are they sampling all the single ladies? So I've been waiting to hear this one to see what the sample was. And I will say, Sonia, it was not all the single ladies. But I also just made the comment, I said this to you guys downstairs, Revolution Radio, is that you? It just reminds me of, like, kind of oldish Green Day stuff, weird enough. But I didn't really have much more thoughts other than that.
I can't believe I didn't say it in the tier list, but this is just Fall Out Boy, like Green Day light. And I'm a big Green Day fan, so it's kind of biased. But a lot of their old stuff sounds like old Green Day, and some of this new stuff sounds like newer Green Day. Not that Revolution Radio is new anymore, sadly.
I do think in the 2000s there was a banger of a tour where it was Green Day and then My Chem and Fall Out Boy supported.
Jesus.
Right.
Wasn't it? Were they on Hell Mega Tour as well?
Yes, Hell Mega Tour was Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer.
Green Day and Fall Out Boy. Shut up, both of you. No Weezer.
Love Weezer. So, track number 7. This is our first interlude, and for some reason it features Ethan Hawke.
Of Moon Knight and other fame.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, I've kind of, it is what it is.
It's an interlude.
I don't think it's bad. It's an interlude. It fits with the album.
It made me laugh when he said quarter pounder with cheese. I don't know why. I just picked up on it and it made me laugh. And it's also the only feature on the album, I think.
No, there's Oh no, it is.
Oh, yeah.
No, it
It's
is.
the only feature on the album for a spoken word piece. And I also wrote classic Pete Wentz spoken word.
Well, it does bring us into track 8, however, which is the best track on the album.
It's not just the best track on the album, it's the best track Fall Out Boy have produced.
Quite
In
possibly.
your opinion.
In our opinion, in the metalhead's opinion.
Wink, wink, watch the album ranking.
So I'm My Own Muse. I thought this definitely sounded like a dramatic movie soundtrack. I love the guitars. There's a full orchestra here. So musically, this is a very dynamic, diverse song. There's just so much going on. I want to listen to it more, to be honest. And it's the only Fall Out Boy song I've ever added to a playlist, and probably maybe the only one I ever will. But I really enjoyed this. I genuinely would give this song individually a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I can't agree more with Tom. It was a very grand, epic feeling. That orchestra made it 3-dimensional. It was just a very powerful song and very interesting. Not much more I can add on top of what you've said, really.
Yeah, there's not many times in Fall Out Boy when I've listened to the entire discography just recently that I was like, damn, I really need to put this on headphones, to get all the pieces, because they're just, they're not a band that has typically in the past, had a lot going on, because it was mostly like 4 chords. You got Patrick singing, and there's a rock beat going on in the background.
It was just more pop punk.
And then to go to this, and it's like so interesting, and the songwriting is just on a different level. It's fantastic and interesting.
I pointed out the violins, like the violin intro. I said that it was very reminiscent of, if people know them, Starset, because Starset use a lot of string instruments, and also Skillet. Shout out
God.
Skillet.
Pain.
I said that it's a very grandiose song, and it feels like a song off a movie soundtrack.
That's exactly why I said.
It was like big, not action sequence, but it just had that, like, if this was on the big screen on a movie scene, like, it would fit perfectly.
If this was in the sequel to 28 Weeks Later, I would not be shocked. In any context, it would fit right in.
But this is the one that everyone's been raving about, I think.
Rightfully
and
so.
I think, yeah, it's well deserved.
The next song, Flu Game. This adds to my growing want for there to be a guitar solo, because, by Lord, do they tease it again? Yet again? Or are we, like, graced with tiny little moments? I'm like, come on, give me a Fall Out Boy guitar solo. Give me a Fall Out Boy guitar. Just do it.
The thing is, I reckon that Joe could absolutely shred one, because him and Andy are in those damn things with the guy from Anthrax and the guy from Every Time I Die.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a metal band, so I reckon that I know that Joe could just absolutely rip into a heavy guitar solo, and I need it on a Fall Out Boy song.
Any thoughts, Connor?
I just was pretty mid, an average Fall Out Boy song. It wasn't too exciting and longer than expected.
Yeah, I think it's one of the
It's one of the weaker songs.
On the
Yeah.
album. It had bluesy vocals. That's what I've said. I said it's quite bluesy, but I didn't really say much about it other than that.
Then we move on to song number 10. A kind of song is incorrect, but Baby Annihilation. I was looking forward to
Not
this by the name
grindcore,
alone.
0 out of 10.
I mean,
0 out of 10. It's not grindcore. Fuck this song.
Yeah, I was expecting hardcore slam. I'm not gonna lie. With a name like Baby Annihilation, I was expecting Tom Barber to come out the side and just start growling at me in different languages.
Well, this is my time to shine for commentary because, when you guys were sat there and you were like, oh, I'm looking at the track list, Baby Annihilation, I really want to hear what that one is. I already knew that this was, like, the spoken word track. So I was, like, already inside crying. And then, listening to it, it's your Pete Wentz poetry moment. Can somebody please get this man back on live channel? Please, this man needs somewhere to put his poetry.
Straight out of Tumblr.
Straight out of Tumblr. It's very reminiscent of the end of, I think, $20 Nosebleed on Folly, where he has the sort of spoken word bit at the end of that song. It's obviously not a new element, it's something that they've done before. It's quite nice to see them bring it back, because I don't think from Folly to this album we have had any, like, Pete spoken word. I would have loved to maybe have him go a bit heavier vocals on it, like he does at the end of $20 Bleed, where it kind of turns into, like, a growl unclean. But it is just a spoken word poetry Pete live journal track.
Track number 11, the Kintsugi Kid, 10 Years. Interesting track title. So this one, I mostly wrote about the music side of it, to be honest. Thought there's some interesting sort of power mute riffs going on, which then leads into some sort of clean power chords. Patrick sounds great, as he genuinely always does. Some pretty cool EDM effects. You can definitely feel the influences from, some of the more recent albums on this one. But also at the same time, the guitars and drums do get quite a lot of love. And I really like the snare. Is it Andy that plays the drums? Yeah. Andy's got, it sounds pretty good. Love the mixing on the sort of drums there. So I thought it was about a mid-tier song for this album, but overall pretty good.
Yeah, I've not got really much else to say. Felt a little bit generic again to me, sort of along the lines of Flu Game. But I think, as we said while we were listening, was that this album goes through like decades of pop music, and each one can be seen as a different decade, and that's still true even of this one. I can't remember what decade we said it was, but it's there. You can definitely hear the influences that they've had with each song on this.
Okay, this track feels very nostalgic. Listen to it. Obviously, like, it's called 10 Years. The lyrics speak about looking 10 years back or whatever, and just the whole vibe of the song as a whole, I think, is just very nostalgic. And this is definitely the, like, look at how far we've come kind of track, I think.
I think if you look at it from that point of view, the sort of influence, obviously, the 10 years, 2013 is when they brought out Save Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
So it's very much, this did feel like the accumulation of them 10 years, but with the modern twist. It probably was sort of a statement song in that sense of, like, these are things we have been doing for the last 10 years. Now here's what we've learned from that, and this is the product. And yeah, I think it's a pretty solid song. On to number 12. Again, one of my favourite tracks of the album.
This one was so good.
What a Time to Be Alive. I thought it very much gave me sort of like 70s Bee Gees vibes. Which,
there you go, there's your decade thing.
I was pretty happy with. Again, instrumentally diverse and fun. Pretty much a theme throughout this album. There's so many things going on, from like drums to maracas to trumpets to violins to piano, like the synths, even sort of electronic sort of elements. There's so many sort of little bits going on that, like, each listen you can probably pick up something new. And I will say, I've been waiting for this moment. They've been teasing it all album long. We actually get a small guitar solo.
Whoa!
we got a guitar solo in a Fall Out Boy song.
So excited. So excited.
I was waiting for this moment. I literally glue up. I was like, oh my god, it's not just a tease. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
So what we found out here today is Tom does not enjoy edging. What I've got down is the trumpets. The trumpets are a fucking highlight. Again, the musical diversity, being able to drag in other instruments and utilize that orchestra once again was just so good. It fits with that happy vibe. It was a good bop, swaying along, having a good time.
The bop and sway. The
bop and
signature
sway.
trademarked bop and then sway. Bop and then sway. You know, it's the best way to listen to like groovy music. I think this one definitely gets the bop and sway.
From my point of view, these guys just started dancing in the middle of the room.
It's alright because we usually do it, and obviously we're not on camera, so we just look a little bit special.
I mean, we do that anyway. Yes, we can. It's our podcast. We can do what we want.
I pointed out the trumpets. I said very funky, very disco-y. The very, very start of the intro, just the way it kicked in, briefly sounded like Kiss the Goat by Ghost. But that was only like for 0.2 seconds. And I mainly wrote that I could see me dancing to this at a concert. It's a super dancey song and a super fun song.
Yeah, I think that if they do this album live, and I would hope they sort of do it back to front, they get in a proper orchestra for it, and I reckon that would be actually a really great show. Well worth the money, because if you charge like what £80 for a ticket like they do to like some of their arena tours, but there was a full orchestra there.
Oh yeah, that was
like
so good.
I'd be fine paying £80 to see Fall Out Boy do this album in a full orchestra, because I understand, yeah, £80's a lot of money for a ticket, but to see a full orchestral show, that'd be 100% worth it.
Orchestra always enhances an album, in my opinion. Like, we listened to
For those that wish to exist.
Yeah, the Architects album that came out in 2021.
Yeah.
And then they released the orchestra version, and
makes it so much better.
it elevated it so much. It went from one of my least favourite albums of the year to certainly up there with the orchestra version. But we might as well finish this and not talk about Architects.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna butt in just on the orchestra point. I do think that one of the elements that makes the orchestra work so well is Patrick's voice. Like, Patrick's soul voice, and when he belts, and like Patrick Stump as a person, I think has one of the most unique and standout voices in like a modern rock band in the point of like soul and highs and things. Like, to roast Brendan Urie a little bit, Brendan Urie wishes he was Patrick Stump, because like Patrick is just a game. I genuinely don't think I've ever listened to a Fall Out Boy song and gone, oh, Patrick sounds bad here.
Yeah, no, that's true. He's got a very powerful and very distinct voice at that.
And when paired with orchestra, it's just explosive. Like,
yeah, you can see why this band has been so popular and resonated with so many, because like they're absolutely sort of top tier, best in the game really at writing choruses. It's completely understandable. And then to also have a vocalist like Patrick, you know, it does make it like amazing combo for like the average listener, because most people just listen to vocals anyway, not too interested in much else. So if you get a good catchy chorus and you got a fantastic soulful vocalist in Patrick, I mean, a lot of people even not that interested in music can listen to that and go, oh, that's really good. Because you can even put it on for your mum, and your mum would probably go, oh, that's pretty good, even if they listen to nothing else and they haven't listened to anything Shania Twain in the 80s, you know. So I can definitely see that's how Fall Out Boy have sort of remained popular, and I think this album is going to do well to sort of keep them at the top of the game, really.
Every member knows what they're doing, and they do it well.
Yeah.
Like, Joe's a great guitarist, Pete's a good bassist and an excellent songwriter. Patrick does guitar live. Patrick's a great guitarist, he's a great singer, and he's a great drummer. They just all do everything so well and literally just work together like clockwork.
Right, so let's finish this album review, shall we? So much for Stardust, the name of the album, title track, you could say. I think it's a decent closer. I think the mix here, again, is standout. And honestly, a credit for the songwriting. I think this goes for the entire album. The songwriting is probably the best they've ever done as a musical piece. It might not be the most popular album or even the fan favourite, but I think from a technical musical standpoint, this is probably the best.
It's so reminiscent to me of Save Rock and Roll, as in like the title track Save Rock and Roll, with the piano ballad. Like, it's got that same vibe, and when I was listening to it, like, the violins come in, the trumpets come in, it had lyric callbacks to the first track, I can literally picture Patrick on stage playing the piano, belting this out with like, you know, the fireworks they have where they fall down in like
God.
sparkler strings.
Oh, God.
Like I can picture that in my mind as a closing song for the tour. It's so good and such a powerful song.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the instruments swelling over the course of this song. The hip hop and rap influences were not something I expected, but they were very well received, fit perfectly into the song, and overall, just a fitting send off to such a good album.
Yep, I think we should. I'm going to give it a rating. Obviously,
your
if
ratings.
you don't want to. But I'd give this one a 9 out of 10, which is really high for me. I'm
You are
usually
hard
pretty
to
rough.
please.
I'm hard to please. I'm a thoroughbred sort of metal guy through and through. Prog metal. Favorite band is Between the Buried and Me, which nobody listening to this will have heard of. Maybe, who knows?
Maybe.
Shout out Between the Buried and Me.
But yeah, prog metal is my thing. So for me to give this a 9, I think that really sort of is a testament to how great it was. I think they did a fantastic job of pulling together so many sort of musical ideas and instruments. And I think it definitely is a credit to Pete if he's brought sort of some of these like melodies together, because mixing 4 instruments together is pretty hard. I mean, as I said before, how hard it is to make a chorus, but then compiling 10, 11, 12 instruments with different soundscapes to create like a sonic journey is not an easy feat, and especially to write in sort of a contextual way that is still popular and can be enjoyed by your more sort of regular listener. I think that's a really impressive feat. So 9 out of 10 for me.
It's good to have got your guys' attention, because going into like this listen, like the Discog listen and this review, I thought you guys were gonna like hate it. I thought you guys were gonna hate like every second of it, that you weren't gonna like the new album, that you weren't gonna like any of the old stuff. So I'm actually quite shocked to see how good this album has done for you.
Yeah, he's easily the best, from my opinion, from somebody who's pretty much listened to all the albums within a week. So complete fresh perspective. Yeah, and I'm putting this at personally my number 1 for them.
Yeah, if you saw our review, you already know that we put it at number 1. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I'm not giving it a 9 like Tom, but certainly an enjoyable album. It honestly shocked me with how good it was. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I didn't expect to... Well, having only heard the singles, I was like, oh, they're kind of generic.
Oh, it'd just be
poppy,
Fall Out Boy.
Pop punk. Yeah, it's just another Fall Out Boy. But no, this was actually really good, and I'm so glad they had the orchestra in there, bringing this entire piece together, making it so coherent and well written, and just ready for the masses. It feels like it's been years in the work.
Yep, there was no bloat. It was 44 minutes, which is pretty much perfect length for this album. It didn't feel too long. There's a couple of like songs that, as we sort of went through, that aren't as maybe good as the others, but maybe after a couple more listens you might sort of grow into them. Some songs just are like that, but overall as a whole package, I think it's fairly solid.
Before I give my rating, I just jumped onto the Wikipedia, and it says that all tracks are written by all members of the band, and additional co-writers are noted. So it looks like it was a collective effort, which good on them. I mean,
Yeah,
to even write,
it's paid off.
yeah, it's paid off, and also for all of the members to be included in the writing processes.
Yeah, 20 years
Right.
in, and to be at the top of your game is difficult.
Yeah,
So many bands fall into complacency and mediocrity
or
by
falling apart.
or falling apart. I mean, look at Panic at the Disco, a band in the sort of similar sphere to them, and complete disaster.
And I also quickly looked at it says personnel. So you had Patrick on vocals, guitar. He played the horns on some of the songs.
Nice.
Pete did bass guitar and vocals. Andy did drums. Joe did the guitar. Other instruments included the bass trombone, the flugelhorn, the trumpet, just the London Metropolitan Orchestra, woodwind, choir, and by the looks of it, maybe Pete's mum. Maybe.
Pete's mum.
There is Marvel Jane Love Wentz, so somebody related to Pete. But I'd say for my rating, I would put it at a solid 7, putting on 8, pushing on 8. But that's not because I think it's bad or there's any tracks I actually don't like or anything like that. It is simply because I think I need another listen or two with headphones to get the full scope of everything to give a solid rating. I'd hate to give it like a really high number on adrenaline and then go back and be like, so I'd rather air lesser. But I can totally see me giving it a couple more listens and it boosting higher towards the 10s.
And you're meant to be the Fall Out Boy stan.
I still stan
here's
them.
us two metalheads who listen to nothing but stupid grindcore and deathcore and men just screaming at us. And we've gave this a 9 and 8.5 respectively. And here's you, Mrs. Fall Out Boy stan, giving it a low old 7.
Well, 7's not low. To be honest, the more I think about it, I am like, oh, I could bump it up. But I just think I need more listens to it. But like I said, by no
There
means
is a lot
bad.
there is a lot going on, so it is understandable on
Yeah.
like a first listen you might not pick everything up.
That's the thing. It's the songs that are more forgettable. I would like to just listen to those again. That's the only reason, to be honest, that it's a 7 pushing on 8. Don't forget the pushing on 8. Because the tracks that didn't stick out to me just didn't stick out to me yet, basically.
Yeah. So the overall between the three of us, it probably lands around an 8.5, 8 to 8.5.
Yeah, still pretty high.
Which is still pretty high. And I'll probably comment on this video in a week's time, probably telling you that Beka's changed her score. So thank you very much for listening. I know this has been a long video, so if you made it to the end, bingus.
Thank you for